Hello and welcome to today's, in case for those, maybe there was some difficulty here. I hope you can hear me now. So welcome to our event that I'm talking about trust. So once again, welcome to the Wellness Universe launch. And my name is Lolita Gurin, for those who don't know. And I'm a stress management expert and a coach and the author of a few books that talk about stress management. And one book that I just recently, a few months ago, released, it's called Stress Management for Adult Children of Alcoholics, that I recommend you to check out. And then also Crush Stress While You Work. That will talk about a lot of stress management in the workplace. So thank you so much for coming here live or watching this on the replay. So thank you so much for joining me for this Life Without Limits class, Freedom and Success by Healing Childhood Trauma. And this session, we'll be talking about trust. And as a Wellness Universe expert, my intention is for you to recognize your childhood trauma and heal it as much as possible. So the Wellness Universe brings experiences like this to you because we believe in happy, healthy, healed humans lead to peace globally. And this session is donation-based, so we are all grateful here in Wellness Universe for your pay what you want for Canada donation, and there is a link that you can donate right now, or you can wait until the class is over, or come back to the same class and donate anytime that you like. You also, please leave us a review. It is very important to others who will be considering attending this class. And also, if you find this very useful for you, please send the link to your friends and family and those who think they can benefit from this class and the rest of the classes that are already recorded or the future classes. So let's dive in. So the simple question that I want to ask you is, how much do you trust yourself? I know this is such a thing that usually when there's a conversation comes about trust, we always think about the other people. It is very important to trust other people and also yourself, but the whole thing, when we were children, now we're talking about childhood trauma, it really started about how much did you trust the people that were around you? So ask yourself this question. Those people around me when I was growing up, were they trustworthy? Did they give me a good example how to trust myself and others? Or they were not? If you grew up in a dysfunctional family, when someone didn't show up emotionally or even physically, you're probably struggling with this issue. Because I think by default, parents or caregivers supposed to already show up in your life and provide you safety and security and support by default. So if they were not there is lack of trust because they didn't do what they're supposed to do by default. Now, when I think about my own childhood, I remember multiple times when my father, who was an alcoholic at the time, he was not really showing up for simple things as, paying attention to whatever I'm participating or playing with me or sitting and just having a conversation. But there were a lot of those instances where he totally failed as a parent. For example, I still remember when I was maybe 5 or 6 years old and I was going to the kindergarten. And he's supposed to pick me up that day because my mom was busy doing something else. And mind you, it would be very rare that he will be picking me up. But he forgot, or he was drunk that day, and he didn't show up on time. My mom received a phone call saying that, guess what, your kid is still here. So you just can imagine me sitting there, the only child left, abandoned, talking about childhood trauma. Obviously, that really caused a serious fear of abandonment issues for me. But also taught me one thing. My daddy is not going to show up there when he really needs to be there. Obviously, that implemented other things that in my life, how can help and support myself, that I cannot trust people. I'm feeling abandoned. I have to rely on myself, and now I'm very fearful because I don't know what to do now, and all of those things that follow after somebody didn't show up for you. So think about it. Were there any people in your life that didn't show up for you? What they were telling you that this definitely going to happen, but didn't happen. And you even can think about easy things, not so painful. Like, let's say they say, when you get an A from this test, we're going to buy you a bicycle. I don't know. Or we'll go to a coffee shop and then buy you a cookie or some sort of reward. When they tell you, you work on this, when you are done with this, we're going to give you this. And you actually did what you were planning to do. And you were very good in implementing whatever you promised them that you will do. But they really didn't show up. And it could be even for some any other reasons. Let's say, well, even if they promised that bike, they had no money to do that. But it doesn't matter. When you are growing up, you're a child, especially under 7 years old. That's where all the childhood traumas are really formed. You learn one thing. You can't trust them. So, of course, when you're an adult, you just bring this hypervigilance for the rest of your life, and you have difficulty trusting others. For sure. So, let's just say you are working in a workplace, and you are an adult. Obviously, you can rely on yourself. Nobody have to show up there for you. You know what you need to do. But how does that really show up? So let's say that you work in a team. If you're working in a company and you're not a solopreneur, where you totally need to rely on yourself, you will be probably working with other people. So let's say you have a deadline and you have a coworker that you gave them a part to do. You tell them that they need to, let's say, do a presentation for that. When you're in a situation like that, do you allow them just to do their work and you trust them that they will deliver this when the deadline is approaching? Will they deliver on the day that you agreed those things to be delivered? Or you really don't trust them? You're like constantly micromanaging them. You go and ask them, how is it going? How's it going? Did you do that? Did you do that? And I know probably we have some coworkers like you always have to keep an eye on them because you cannot rely on them. But do you have people that right now, and you ask yourself, do you have other people in your life right now that you just constantly doubt them? Just constantly doubt them. You're like, I just don't know what's really going to happen. So here's an exercise for you. You can do this now, but it's probably if you will do it some other time, because it will give you an idea what you really need to look at next time. So imagine you have your whole team, and if you have a business, write a list of people that you interact the most. If you work in the workplace where you have to have interaction with coworkers, make a list of those people. If you have a family that you participating in, mother, father, sister, brother, or neighbor, or whatever friend, make this list of people and then think about it. How much do you trust them? And then from 1 to 5, write a number, grade them. And then when you make that number, how much do you trust them? Write yourself a note. Ask yourself why you trust them that number. If let's say from 1 to 5, 5 meaning you trust them 100%, write a note next to it. Because they always showed up for me. Yes? Or let's say somebody has only 1 or 2. They didn't write because they didn't show up. Whatever they promised, they didn't keep the word. Now, here's a trap. That if you grew up in a dysfunctional family and you're super hyper vigilant and you always do not trust people, especially if that looks, this just looks too good to be true, and somebody is telling you, oh yes, we will deliver, we totally deliver, we do it on time, the way you want it, and you always just have this thing like, I don't know, I don't think they're going to do that. It could be also that you're already out of security, out of a need for self-preservation. You will assume the worst, and you already will kind of assume that they're not going to deliver that. So when you look at that list of people, really be honest with yourself. You don't trust them because there is evidence that they didn't deliver that before, or you just projecting that lack of security, the knowing that they will be there, the lack of trust onto them without the evidence. I will ask you to keep like a diary for like a month or so. And at the end of the day, write the things that other people do and ask yourself, did they keep the word or not? And then just record it. And then revisit that like in a month and look at that number that you gave at the beginning. And then look at that evidence that they actually deliver what they promised or they didn't deliver what they promised. That list is really good because then you can pay attention how you interact with those people, what is that you ask of them. And if, let's say, it looks like they're not delivering, maybe it's time for conversation to ask why. You know, one of the things that when I was interviewing over 200 business owners, how successful they are in their business and how much of a stress and burnout impacting their productivity, those that were the most successful, they told me that one of the things that they did that made a huge impact in their business and their profit line was delegating. Well, when you delegate something to someone, you have to trust them. Many times, it can be a situation like you have a toddler and you want them to tie their shoes fast enough. But because you think this is taking too long and I'll just do it better myself, you keep on tying their shoes. The catch here is the longer you will tie the shoes, the longer they will not know how to do it right. So you need to have this trust of allowing them through their own experiences, making mistakes, finally actually to arrive to the point where they can do it themselves. The same works with the rest of your family or your coworkers or your employees and pretty much any interaction in the relationship. You need to ask yourself, how much are you afraid of trusting other people? And then when you delegate something, it's important to tell them what your expectations are and make sure that they understand that what you expecting actually going to happen. Because if you say, well, make some dinner and dinner is not ready and you expect it to be home cooked, but then somebody shows up with a to-go box, you really cannot be angry about that because you didn't clarify that you want to have a home cooked meal, correct? It is extremely important to get to a conclusion that both understand what is the result and how to arrive at. And if you have great tips how that person can arrive to that point, then there's a bigger success rate. So when you already equipping them with the success tools, there's a higher possibility that they will actually arrive to the result that you want. Hence, you will trust them better next time. You will trust them more the next time. And that's obviously helping a lot with stress management because then you will know you can trust them. But if you will not give the other person opportunity to be trustworthy, they're probably not going to show up. So we just talk about how it is with other people that you trust or not trust. Let's just talk about now about trusting yourself. And someone can say now, well, I always trust myself because, well, it's me. I'm doing the best I can. How can you not trust yourself? Yes, you can. I believe it really comes from a fear of abandonment. It is when, and there's the whole hour while I was talking about that already recorded. So I will recommend you to go and hit there. Or you just continue with this video for now and then go back where it was. Or if you already listened to that, that's great. So fear of abandonment is when your caregivers abandon you physically or emotionally or no matter how when your needs were not met. So what you do is that when you realize that you are not loved for who you are, just by being you, you start taking away the part of yourself that you think is not loved, that is not really welcomed in expressing it, and other people don't like it. So then you tuck that part of yourself away. And what happens, you're not just taking that part away from everybody else, but also from yourself. And that is abandonment. When you abandon also yourself. So if you do not trust yourself, it is because you don't even know who you are. Because the ultimate self-preservation, it is when you accept yourself for who you are, so you're strong in what you are, and you feel worthy and confident. When you already abandon part of yourself, you cannot trust yourself because you're not really supporting yourself. I know that sounded very complicated. So now ask yourself, do you really trust yourself? How many times you started a project and you didn't finish? How many times did you started a diet or workout regime, or you started a book and you didn't finish? You dropped out of that program. You didn't show up at the party that you were invited. And I know that's really goes with the people pleasing, especially that has to do with other people. But let's just first start with yourself. So you don't trust yourself. I know you did the best. But then the bad part is that that child inside of you is always going to get super excited about the things that you are planning to do. Let's say you say, I am going to, let's say, get a cookie when I reach a particular size clothes. So I am now on a diet. I'm going to be dieting for 3 months, and then I'm going to go get a cookie or a cake or buy myself a trip or something. So your inner self is super excited. Now it's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to do this because you're already looking forward to that, right? You already have this anticipation that this amazing thing happens. When you start doing something, and here is what can happen with childhood trauma a lot. If you really don't believe that you're worthy of going on that trip, if you don't believe that you are worthy of becoming this size clothes that you can wear, and it is for you more comfortable, and it serves you not to be that size. It serves you not to work out. It serves you not to keep up that diet or whatever that you were planning to do. Obviously, serving somehow. What happens at the end of that month, over that program, whatever long that need to be, you realize, well, you're really not there where you're supposed to be, or even worse, you like drop out in the middle of it after 1 week. So your inner child that was expecting the trip, the cookie, the cake, the bike, the whatever, it's very disappointed. So you broke the trust with yourself. Like others were doing that to you, now you're doing it to yourself. And I think the sad part is we learn that behavior from those that we saw around growing up. Because that's all we know. You're treating yourself as others were treating you. Of course, it's possible to change that. Totally possible. But it's like, well, how do you do that? A good way to start is doing something, and that's a great exercise, by the way. And I'm inviting you to do that. Think of something that you can do every day and that you like doing it. Because if I will tell you right now, start exercising every day, that's not going to go well, especially if you don't like it or you think that not working out actually serving you. But this is not about that. This is now we're just starting small steps where you can get yourself confident and start trusting yourself. So, think about it. What is that you like doing that you can do every day for 30 days? Let's say every day when you brush your teeth, you will do 10 sit-ups. Or maybe you will wake up always at the same time. So the alarm rings, you're off to bed. Maybe you promise yourself you're going to eat an apple every day. Of course, it's a great idea for you to build a habit on something that's actually serving you instead of that's not serving you. If you like smoking, don't tell yourself, I'm going to smoke a cigarette every day. That's probably not a good idea. Because probably you're already doing that, right? I'm asking you to do something that you like doing it, but you're not doing it every day. Or you even can do the same workout. You can say, I'm going to walk around the block. Something simple. But you will do it no matter what. Or maybe read one page of the book. Like those books. I mean, and I that's why I was for the longest time. I will have this stack of books on my desk that I know I'm going to read it. And I will start reading one book, and then, oh my gosh, there's another great book. Let me read that other book first, and then we'll come back for the first one. And then we'll have a whole stack of books that I will never finish reading it. So what I did, I wrote a whole list of books, and then I told myself, I'm going to read only one book, and when I'm done with that one, then I'm going to continue with the next one. And here's the thing. If you have a lot of projects that you don't end, it is very stressful for your brain. It's like a computer file. You keep on opening new file, but you don't close. Obviously, your energy and attention goes to that not closed, not completed file. So then you feel like there's way too much going on in your mind, and it's very difficult to keep up. You're just kind of using your energy for something that can totally be taken care of. And I'm inviting you to take up a piece of paper and pen, or whatever, how you can want to record this, and go around the house and look at the things that are in the wrong place, or something that just annoys you. Like there's maybe a box with some things that your neighbor gave you, and you said, okay, fine, I'll use this in my garden, but it's just still standing there. Or maybe there is some things that you thought, okay, I'm going to take this to my sister when I see her next time, but it's still standing by the door. And every time when you pass, you remember, oh my gosh, I need to go to my sister's. And this, a lot of things really happening unconsciously, because it's not over, it's not complete, right? And because you do not complete things, you trust yourself less. So go around the house and make the list of things that annoy you. Or for example, there's another thing, let's say, well, I am going to replant this plant. I am going to take my time on the weekend, and I'm going to organize a shelf or something. And every time when you pass by, I'm like, oh, that's really annoying. Like some newspapers falling apart or whatever. And then you're like, oh, why are they still here? I'm going to do this when I have time. Or better yet, you wake up in the morning, sometimes on the weekend, you said, I think this is going to be a great day. I'm going to do this and this and this and this and this and that. And then you're feeling amazing. But by the time evening comes, you already realize that you didn't accomplish almost nothing from that list. Maybe you did one or two things. So yes, go around the house, write down all those things that annoy you, and then start doing it like one by one, and eliminate those. Do not start number 2 until you finish number 1. I can guarantee you'll feel less stress for sure when you're done with that list, and you will trust yourself so much more. You will be so proud of yourself. Better yet, I'll recommend you, every time when you accomplish something and you're so proud of yourself, give yourself a gift. Yes, give yourself a reward. So you reward this part of yourself, and then inspire yourself to go and do other things. because, well, it feels good. So the more those open files will close, the less stressed and burnout you will be, and you will trust yourself more, because now you can achieve things. Now you can finish things, and then you will feel more confident in yourself, in your own abilities. When you even do small things that you can prove to yourself that you can do it, you naturally will be inclined to start doing bigger projects. You'll have more confidence of addressing other projects, and you will want more of life, and you will achieve more of it, and hence you will be more happy. So also, it's extremely important to realize that there are things already in your life that you accomplished. And when they talk about your accomplishments when we started all this course, the first classes, we already talked about what the things that you accomplished, and then did you give credit to yourself. So it might be very disappointing when you will start all your projects, you'll write it down on a piece of paper somewhere, you record, and you look at the whole list of things that are still open files, still things that you want to do, and you could be very disappointed. You could think like, oh my gosh, this is so much to do, this is impossible, how am I going to do it? And you may even feel worse before writing that list. So I recommend you to go and read that list of your own accomplishments. Yes, this is, again, you're going to use that list that we did in the first classes. And I hope you're keeping up with that list, because you're every single week probably doing something that you can add to that list, that you can feel proud of yourself, some accomplishment that's helping you to boost your confidence and trust yourself. Yes, trust yourself. But I highly recommend you start doing little things, and then you will be more inclined to do more things. So simple things like that helps you with your own trust, just trusting yourself. Now, how does that we do with other people? I talked a little bit about how you can trust those other people, but here's the thing. A lot of times we people please, and I already talked about people pleasing in the previous class, but because you want to people please, you have difficulty of setting boundaries. So I want to ask you, just think about it. Was there ever a situation in your life when somebody asked you to go to an event or a party or something, or just go for coffee, and you don't want to go, and you're not going to show up, but they're inviting you, and then you say, yes, oh yeah, of course I'm going to be there. Right that moment, if you really don't want to go, and you're not going to go, you're lying to yourself. You are breaking the trust in yourself, because guess what? You're abandoning yourself here. Yes, you are abandoning your needs of being safe, and then you kind of can feel like caught in the middle, because you really don't want to go, but you don't want to disappoint them. And we already talked about setting boundaries, and it might be very difficult, but you need to start doing that. So when there's something that you feel like you need to do, but you really don't want to do, just start saying no. Start telling them, I'll let you know later, and then message them later and say, I'm sorry, I'm not going to make it. You will build more trust because you honor your own needs. You are standing by your own side, and you're supporting that, even that is very difficult. And the more times that you will find yourself in a situation where you really need to say no, and you will trust yourself more next time. And more than that, you will know that, nobody died. Probably nobody died if you didn't show up there. And that'll be fine. And then people will trust you more as well. They will trust your word. So a good exercise, and I have a whole chapter in my book, Stress Management for Adult Children of Alcoholics. There's plenty of exercises that you can do and help with your trusting yourself and others. And you might think, no, I think I'm good with trusting myself. I think I'm good. I'm inviting you to go and ask those people that are around you, interact with you every day, your family members, your coworkers, your employees, your friends, ask them, do you think I'm trustworthy? And I invite you to ask those people who you actually trust. Definitely do not recommend you to ask people who are narcissists, because they probably will tell you that you're not trustworthy just to make you feel bad. So always, for any um, question, you always make sure that you're asking the right person. And just ask, do you think I'm trustworthy? And if they say, oh yeah, absolutely, okay, that's great. But if they say, I don't know, I just have, sometimes you do not keep your word. Ask them to remind you, when was it? And then try to remember what really happened in your mind. What was your emotional state when you really didn't come through when you're supposed to? And what I like about this exercise is also that when you start talking about trust with other people, you opening yourself up and showing an example to the people that they can be vulnerable to too. And you can tell them as well that you do not feel like that maybe they trustworthy 100% all the time. And maybe even they can say, oh, I never thought about that. And that could be a great conversation that will open parts of you and your friend, for example, that you didn't even expect it. And through all of those conversations, you will have a deeper bond with yourself and them. So I think it is very beneficial, those conversations. And of course, you may feel like, well, this is something way too vulnerable for me to ask someone, like, oh, well, what they will say. Because naturally, you will want to people please. You want to be the perfect one. You want to, show yourself that, well, if I'm going to ask them, am I trustworthy, then immediately I'm going to show that I don't trust myself. But no, that has to do with something that you want to improve. And it can take courage, but it's a very good idea to ask how people see you. And remember those situations when, well, it looked like you didn't come true. And then ask yourself why that happened. Remember that. In addition, I think it's a great idea to keep a diary. Every day, even if you're already writing a lot of things, probably by now we have quite a list that I ask you to track. Just ask yourself, was a trustworthy day? Did they come true for the people I love? Did they come true for myself? Did they keep my boundaries today? You just ask yourself, was I true to yourself? Was I trustworthy towards myself and others? And just say yes or no. Of course, if you can be more descriptive and write this for your future reference, just see, are there things that you do not trust yourself in something? And maybe you are, let's say, very good with showing up at work. You trust yourself very much that you're going to deliver a project, because maybe you are a perfectionist, you're a workaholic, and that's already coming from your low self-esteem and low self-worth of thinking that if I am not loved for who I am, then I have to be useful. I have to deliver. Otherwise, they're not going to love me. I have to be this high achieving individual, or that I'll be excluded from the group. And we talk a lot about that in other classes. So you can see that there are some things that you really truly trust yourself. But if you start writing a diary, and then over time, you may notice that there are some patterns that you don't trust yourself. You didn't even know you were not trusting yourself. Also, when it comes to specific people, when at the beginning of this class, I asked you to create a list of people that you trust. So that was like, what do you think about those other people? Do you trust those other people? So then, since you already have that list with people's names, I am advising you to look from the other point of view and see how often do you spend time with them? How much do you interact with them? Are there times that you constantly saying no to them? Is there a person that you constantly promising them that you will show up, but you don't? But there are some people that you just love seeing them and you love helping them and you always come through. You're like, for them, I'll do anything. So evaluate those people. And if you have someone in that list that you don't trust, or you already notice that there's this pattern of you really not showing them, not showing up for them either, maybe this is a time for you to let them go. I don't know. If that's like a family member, you're like, how I'm gonna let go of my sister? This is impossible. Then minimize your time when you with them. Let's say they call, you don't pick up the phone. Message them and say, I'm sorry, I'm busy. Or if you start conversation with them and you already know it's going to be a long one, at the beginning of a conversation, just say, I'm really busy and I need to go, but we can talk for 5 minutes. What's up? So when you're telling them at the beginning of a conversation that you don't have so much time, you're already setting an expectation for them. So they will not be disappointed when you say, okay, you gotta go now. So you see, at the same time, you trust yourself because you showed up for yourself. And then, well, those are the people you don't have to just totally discard, but then you're giving them the least possible without being rude. And of course, the same applies for the people who do not respect you or do not support you in all other ways. So I think I already talked a lot about other people in previous classes. And overall, you probably know that if some things really doesn't feel right, they're treating you bad, in other ways, they shouldn't be in your life. Especially if they're abusing you emotionally or, God forbid, physically. Which I think emotional or physical abuse, both of them are very, very bad. The difference between emotional abuse is that it is not really seen from outside. So it is easier to hide. For the physical abuse, probably the bruises and all the things, other people can see it. So in order to trust yourself, pay attention how much you trust other people and how trustworthy those other people are, and eliminate them from your life. Just pay the least possible attention to them and take care of yourself. So do you remember when I was telling you that one good exercise about how you can build trust in yourself is continuously doing something for 30 days, something small. It could be days, but you don't even feel like doing that yourself. Yes. And here's the other side, what I want to say about how important it is to build trust with yourself. It is very painful to grow up in the environment where caregivers were supposed to by default to take care of you and provide the best for you, give the support, and you didn't get it. So you need to give yourself that support. You need to honor your needs. You need to meet your needs. But at the same time, you have to be loving towards yourself and forgiving and allowing yourself to do things that it's okay. Have compassion towards yourself. That's what they say. You have to honor yourself. You cannot abandon yourself. Don't abandon yourself by abandoning your needs. What do I mean by that? So let's say, okay, you have 30 days And you promise yourself that you will do 10 sit-ups every time you brush your teeth. Oh, okay, just in the morning. It'll help you to be awake. But let's say one day you wake up and you're like, I just really don't want to do those sit-ups. Like I really don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. So here is the situation that you may think to yourself, gosh, I don't even know what am I supposed to do now. Do I supposed to still push myself and still do those 10 sit-ups? Or should I honor myself and my needs and say, no, I don't want to do that. And I'm not going to do that. So if you push yourself, you don't feel good because maybe your knee hurts and you don't want to do those sit-ups, right? You're like, it's just painful. But if you're not going to do that, then you'll feel guilty because guess what? Now you broke the trust. Now you broke something that now you have to start all over again. What did just happen? You just broke the trust with yourself. And then you feel total loser, and that can be very damaging because you can make a big deal out of nothing. If you come up with from the dysfunctional family, you'll probably have a difficulty. And you will take this in a super wrong, very bad way. Yes. Because you will be guilting yourself and saying, I cannot believe this. I couldn't even do 10 sit-ups. What I recommend is to make yourself a promise that you're going to do a habit. You will start in this habit of trusting yourself, but you give yourself a wild card. Yes. So you can tell yourself, I'm starting those sit-ups for 30 days, but if I don't feel good, I have one wild card. Actually, it works for diets great too, because it gives you the sense of control. It's like, well, if something bad happens, I still can do that. It's not like you're really fully in. You still have like one leg out. It helped me a lot. It's amazing how knowing that you can have a control over a situation like that, it's not going to control you. It helps you with your mental state. And that's also has to do a lot of coming from dysfunctional family and needing a control. Because when the life around you lack control, you need to be in control of yourself. Yes. So give yourself a wild card. I noticed what happened in my life when I gave myself a wild card. And let's say one day you wake up and you're like, I just really don't feel like doing those sit-ups, or my knees hurt or whatever. And then you know that you can take that wild card. You probably will not take it. Well, of course, if you're really in pain, you will take it. And it's great because what that means, you honor your needs. You did not bulldoze yourself through the success. I talk a lot about that. You honor your needs, meaning you build more trust in yourself for being there for yourself. That is very good. Now, if you can do those sit-ups, you are not going to take that card because you want to achieve things. And since you already did so well up to that day, you will want to continue that. There's this feeling of, this is so exciting. You know, your inner child is so excited to reach that line where they can get that cookie, go on the trip, buy that clothes, or whatever. And if you give yourself the permission not to do that, you will not feel so guilty because you already knew right from the beginning that you will use a wild card. I hope you implement this. It is very easy to do and it works magic. When you show up there for yourself, when you give yourself permission to be in control, when you know that you're not fully in there, you still have like one leg out, you still have a control. So all of this process, it will help you to build trust. And then you can implement the same thing what has to do with relationships. You can tell yourself, that from now on, you're going to say no to people. Or better yet, start with one person. I would not recommend you to starting with a difficult one. You can pick somebody from that list that I already talked about it, and just kind of just look in the browse like, okay, which person will be good for you to work with, that you can heal with. It's very good if, let's say, you have a friend and you say, look, I'm working on trusting myself. I want your support. So be my accountability partner. And especially if you interact with that person a lot, you can say, from now on, I'm going to say the truth. And if you ask me, am I hungry? And you inviting me to go eat something, and I'm not hungry, I'm going to tell you no. And tell them that you not really, that's not your point in insulting them or saying, no, I'm not going to go, what do you think? But just tell them, please help me with this. I'm going to work on my trusting myself. So I'm going to be telling you no, or telling you yes, or telling you I don't know. But please, is it okay if you will be, you don't judge me that harsh? Yes, because the people pleaser will definitely come. The people pleasing is going to be there. So when you already have this agreement with another person that it's okay for you to express your true self, you will trust them more and you will trust yourself more. And then when you implement those things where you trust more, you realize that there are more things that you can trust yourself about. And the more you trust yourself, it will be easier to control your stress. Because now you have things in control. Now you trust yourself for the future projects, for the future things. You know that, well, no matter what happens, I'll be fine because I will show up there for myself. I will be there no matter what. And I will protect myself. Your inner child will be happy because now you can do that. So I hope you did quite a few writing prompts. And I invite you to really spend time with that. And even that can look daunting, and it can take courage for you to really realize, what is there? Can I trust myself? And you probably, if you feel guilty about things like that, you want to run away. And pay attention for the excuses that will come up when you tell yourself, well, I wish I could clean my house, but they just keep on putting more stuff. Or, well, I wish I could read one page a day, but I can't because I have to take care of the rest of the family. Really? Really? Like, really? Can you really find 5 minutes for yourself? Because if you cannot do this, then you really need to ask yourself a question. Why is that? How is that serving me? And yes, there's childhood trauma behind it because you do not believe, well, that you can do this and you are worthy of this. But you are. You're worthy of this. You're worthy to stand your ground, to honor your needs, to trust yourself so other people will trust you more too. And I always say, when you start with yourself and you feel your own pitch, then you can pour out of it to other people. When you start honoring your needs and you start trusting yourself, you're more confident. People around you, they see that strength. They see that they can rely on you, especially kids. You teaching them by example. When you keep a word, they learn that from you. Yeah, the same way as you were learning from your parents. It goes from generation to generation. So if you're thinking to yourself like, I don't think I'm going to implement those things, I don't have time for this is nonsense, it's an excuse. But that excuse, if you really eliminate that and you start doing little things, you will grow your trust towards yourself and others will see it. And they will respect you more. And more than that, you will respect yourself more. When you respect yourself more, your self-esteem grows. You value yourself more because you know you are enough. You are enough the way you are. But it's time for you to remember this, because you grew up in a dysfunctional family where you've been told that you were not. So you deserve to give yourself something, small steps that actually lead you to a better life, right? That's what we're here. And it doesn't take that much. Like I always say, stress management not supposed to be so stressful. Start with small things. Make yourself a plan where you will keep doing all the time. Give yourself rewards. Ask other people for help. Better yet, imagine that in your family there is something that you want to do. Let's say you tell the whole household, or let's say your kids or your spouse or your dog, and say, we're gonna, after dinner, we're all going to walk around the block. You will help those other people to trust in themselves as well. Or make a challenge. If you have a family or friends, or even in the workplace, you can say, okay, this is the month that we're going to have trust, and we're going to be accountable. Find an accountability partner and say, okay, so are you reading that book 1 page per day? Awesome. Because when you have the other person, you immediately become more accountable. Did you notice that? That is that trust. That's what it is. Because when we want to show up for other people, we have a tendency more of keeping our word. But when it has to do with us, like, well, nobody sees that I just potato chips. Nobody sees it. Who cares? And that's how you disappoint yourself. All those setbacks, yes, it's not helping you with your self-trust. You're proving to yourself that you are unworthy. And then you tell yourself, well, yeah, I know, my sister or my daddy or my mommy, grandma, whatever, teachers were saying that I'm unworthy. And then you just prove to yourself. And we love being right. That's self-preservation. Your brain wants to be right. That's what I said. It's serving him somehow. But you can serve yourself somehow, and you can be right in different ways, not necessarily those that serves against you. You can have lots of confidence built and trust for doing things that actually serves you. So I hope you took notes. I hope that you answered some questions. I hope that you are inspired on doing it more. And if you need help in coaching, I do one-on-one coaching. So you're welcome to go to my website, beamazingyou.com. I also have online membership that's specifically for stress management for adult children addicts, a Facebook group. And you just can look for that one, or just go on my website and join my membership, where every month I am talking about one specific thing, where I give plenty of exercises and also introduce an expert the last week of that month. So you're welcome to go and purchase my books on Amazon, Stress Management for Adult Children Alcoholics. And I know if you're thinking, well, I don't have anybody alcoholic in my family, that's okay, because all of those traits are really targeted to those who grew up in dysfunctional families where they didn't get the emotional, the physical needs met. And a lot of us are very different. Some of us have experienced more trauma than others. But it's very important to address this today. The longer you wait, the worse it gets. Yes. And if you have a team, I would love to come and teach how to manage stress and burnout in the workplace. I do lunch and learns. I do online events. I do workshops. And if you have an event coming, I'll be very happy to speak at your event and tell everybody how they can manage this stress without being stressed. Because stress management doesn't have to be so stressful. There's simple things that you can implement right now that can help you in the long run. So I hope you enjoyed this. Please leave a review if you have not left a review for the Wellness Universe classes. It's highly appreciated. And please donate and send this link to your friends and family, or your workers, or your employees or co-workers that can benefit from this. And leave me a comment below, send me an email or whatever, how else I can support you, and I see you in a month.